can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
Gets running loose. Reavis can't wait.
Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride.
The official Jets podcast is presented by Kendra Scott, the jewelry company that's shining bright and doing good. Personalize your game day look by shopping spirited styles and so much more at your local Kendra Scott store or kendrascott.com, where team spirit meets personal style. Gentlemen, joint practices, dog days of summer. What were you guys looking for out there?
Well, for me, number one, I thought the first eyeball test for preseason game number one was, promising. There's little things that you look forward to, like, okay, that's a little better. That looks clean. The way the offensive line mesh together and get to the second level. Like, are they doing it together? Does one guy look out of place? I didn't see that, which was great. I'm talking about the guys that played early in the game. And I thought the younger guys did well, too. And I think just the execution level of other players speaks a little bit about the coaching and what they've done up to this point. So I thought the operation looked better than it's been. And that's a positive sign. Now, again, how do you continue the trajectory and get better? These are critical joint practices with the Giants. Obviously, you get a lot of live reps. There's a lot of young players on both teams that are hungry to put something out there to show people that they're good. Yeah. And you get a lot of good work in. Now, will they play in this game? I don't know, but you're getting really two physical practices that, you get some really good eyeballs on guys that competing at a high level. Not that they're not doing it in practice, because everything I've seen so far, it's been really high tempo. I listened to all the content, look at all the videos. I'm not here every day, but it's enough to watch one practice to see, like,
look at my man watching all the content and listening to all the content.
I mean, listen, I got to get filled in. There's some guys whose content I can't look at, and then there's your content. So, but just listening, when you mic up, Aaron, I mean, you hear words like tempo, get out of the huddle, finish the play. Like, these are things that have to be continuously said until they're done right. And you saw a little bit of that with the penalties. Get out of the game, or you fought, or whatever it may be. Like, it's not going to be what it's going to be, but you have to do that every single moment and live it and breathe it. And that's what he does. So, again, good start. Yeah. We're looking for growth every single day, and there's going to be adversity. I think we all know that. Yeah. How do you handle that? And that'll be, we'll see that when the season starts.
Speaking of eyeballs, I had the great fortune of watching you both and listening to you both. You were in the CBS booth here locally with Ian Eagle, taking care of the color commentary. And then somebody had to take AB's shoes or fill those shoes. And Quincy Enunwa in the booth with the voice of the Jets, Bob with shoes. And how was that experience?
Wally pipped, man. I'm throwing that name around. I don't want to lose my job, But.
No, it was good. It was a good experience. I took a lot of notes from AB. Obviously, EA gave me some notes as well. I think it's a cool experience, right? Because you get to see the game, and as you're watching, it's more of a passive experience, whereas as you're talking about it, it's way more active. So you're really retaining more of it, right? I'm really kind of focusing more than I would if I was watching it on TV or even just watching it in the stand. So a lot of the different plays and the defensive plays, offensive plays, I'm noticing more because I have to then speak it out, right? It's kind of like how I experience coaching, right? Like if I can't coach you if I can't speak it well, so it gives me an opportunity to learn a lot, and then I come back and I can talk to the guys about some of the things that I saw. So it was a good experience.
Not only do we love you, but you see the game from a different perspective because you played it. You're also in the booth. You're also a coach. Preseason game one, expectations for the offense, what you saw in that quick drive where they culminated on Justin Fields' score and run, and also now what are the next steps moving forward for that group?
I think, I was talking to Tanner a little bit before practice, and, he was in the XFL at one point in his career.
Yes, he was.
So, again, that's, that's great to see, but, we watch as a staff, our staff, we watch a lot of Detroit Lion offense. I mean, that's just, when you're the best offense, everybody watches you, right? Yeah. And, what they do well is the movements, the pre-snap stuff, and they try to find the weaknesses and they try to take advantage of it. What I saw early in the one preseason game, it wasn't a lot, but there was a lot. There was movements, and there was, I'm sure they're throwing a lot at them because they want to. There is a sense of like win now, right? Everybody's in that. There is really no rebuild anymore. Like I do believe if you do things properly that you can come back on a crappy season and be really competitive and really good the next year. It can happen. Now, is that going to happen? I don't know, but it's been done. Every year somebody does it. So hey, why can't it be the Jets? You know, a lot of things have to go right, injuries and all those things. But I think from the standpoint of just operationally, do you go out there and can you execute at a high level where it looks good on film? And it's like, man, you feel good about this. And I thought every position had something there. You know, it may not be a completed pass to a guy like Arian Smith, but man, you saw him run the go route. He beat a guy at the line. He got separation down the sideline. Bam, that checks a box. Did he catch the ball? Was the ball on part? No. But man, like those things, they add up, right? So now you got to build and build and build. And, you know, again, it's just keep pushing the guys to do their thing. And then you have the little competitive battles, whatever they may be, whether it's center or receiver or D tackle. I mean, these are areas of places that have to be addressed. And, you know, I wanted to see how the D tackles played in this preseason game because I just don't know. We got a bunch of guys that have traveled, played a little bit of ball, been on practice squads. Like, who's going to rise up and do something? And then you had a couple guys kind of stand out. So, and then you get guys back from injury like Jermaine Johnson. So, you know, you'll get more pieces there. But I think, look, I think, you know, like people ask me like, oh, you cover the Jets. So, you know, like, but you don't want to get too high. I mean, listen, what I saw in the preseason looked a little different than other preseason games. That's just it, you know. And now, could it look like crap this week coming up? Of course it can, right? But that's how you got to get better from all those. You got to get better from being good, and you got to get better from being bad. So those will be the challenges for the staff and everybody. And when things maybe aren't going right, or hey, maybe adversity doesn't hit till mid-season, which would be great, right? So you don't know when it's going to come, but you're ready for it. And I think that's what AG's doing, preparing for the worst. But you know, you expect to be promising and make it look good.
All right, so let's break this down. You said you talked to Tanner Angstrand, the first-year Jets offensive coordinator, the former Detroit Lions passing game coordinator. You from a player perspective, you from a coach perspective, let's discuss as far as what all that movement, motion means. And because oversimplification is, okay, you're going to make the defense show. Okay, so are they a man or zone? But more than that, what's going on and how is it going to help this offense and help Fields grow within it?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak primarily from a receiver perspective. It allows you to not have to worry about the press as much, right? I think Garrett Wilson is a guy that can beat the press, right? But if you want to get somebody off of you, it's a great opportunity to move them around. So you guys will see that multiple times they would run the motion and then he would run that out route, right? So it gives you a chance to run that out with a lot more space because there's so many different things you can move off of that. Now this next game, they might run that and run a slant, might run that out and up, right? Like you can build off of that. Then you can just put them stagnant and run that same thing. Like there's so many different things you can do. Then they have the shifts, right? You're moving two tight ends from one side to the other side. You're moving your running back into the backfield, right? You're seeing the defense shift with those movements, right? So now the quarterback has to see that. He's seeing all those different things. It kind of simplifies the picture a little bit. Yeah. I think when you think about last year, we're always going to say, oh, this is it looks like a lot of motion because last year we saw no motion, right? Yeah. We saw no movement. So I think it's good to see that, and I think I think Justin Fields is going to like it. I think Garrett Wilson will like it, right? I think there's going to be some moments where he might want to just stand still because that's a lot of running, right? You're going to get those miles in, but it's helpful for him, you know?
Yeah, you know, I think obviously gathering information is key for offensive coaches, play callers, and if you can get the information that you need and you're a good quarterback and you understand why you're doing it and it's not just a repetitive thing like, oh, there's just motion, you can really benefit from it, right? And just like he talked about how like you get the quick out, like, you know, you're also gaining leverage on certain things. And you know, like for me, my experience is, I have really good play callers the last couple of years and we draw these really good plays, but sometimes the layup plays, the hitches, and like, let's take those too. Yeah. We saw Andrew Beck over the ball, like do 2 checkdowns. One was a 10-yard game. I think the other one was 25. Like there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Oh, we got to see receivers catch it. Yeah, we do. I get it. But also understand, like if you're forcing a ball on 1st and 10 down the sideline, it's not quite there and it's a throwaway or the guy can't catch the ball. Now you're at 2nd and 10. Right. Well, if you check it down and you get 5, you may get 10 or 15. You never know how that turns out. So sometimes we don't want to overanalyze like the play calling. Right. It's just like, okay, we have these plays to beat a certain defense, but also understand that, you know, check downs are what we're learning from the motions and stuff that we can adjust adjust on, like, man, they're giving us the hitch. Let's take it. Boom, boom, boom. Pull it out, throw it, take the hitch, and let the guys go to work. So, again, a smart coordinator builds on those things. You're calling plays to get the information. You're calling plays because you believe you can beat something that they're showing consistently on film. And then you're gathering information in game. And then can you adjust? And all those things for a first-time play caller like Tanner in the professional level, and our special teams coach, all that stuff. That's gonna be big. And I think that's going to be the fun part to watch, but the unknowns that we don't have yet for the information that we want.
And one thing to add, I think people have to understand is that this offense in Detroit was one of the top in the whole league in yards after catch. So you talk about those small passes, those dump passes, that's kind of how they live, right? Like you allow your playmakers to make plays. So I don't think it should be this idea that, we have to throw it down the field. Sometimes those are the right plays because we saw it. Beckham was making some great plays, and that was only one drive. Who knows what the rest of the game would have looked like?
Interesting dynamic here with Becht, who is a seasoned vet in the National Football League. Aaron Glenn said after the game, he brought up the fact that it was Darren Mushi's first signing as GM here with the Jets. But AG clearly likes fullbacks. But how about tight ends as well here, specifically on this roster, because Mason Taylor returned to practice here at One Jets Drive today, Tuesday, made a spectacular diving reception by the sideline. You got Jeremy Ruckert, who brings a little bit of everything to the table, and Stone Smart's starting to come on as well.
Yeah, I mean, Beck is in the tight end room, right? So, I mean, maybe a fullback, but he is that movable hybrid piece, right? So he can block. He's a smaller guy, so he gets good leverage and knows how to get under linebackers. Those are hard things for tight ends to do in my size. I was forced to do it, and it wasn't always comfortable for a guy like me to get in the backfield and go ISO somebody or pull around. Like that wasn't my strength, but I had to figure out how to get it done and do it right. And, you have Mason Taylor, who's a very promising young tight end who, again, has pedigree like his father, understands the work ethic, knows how to get coached, can come in, and you don't have to spend a lot of time with him because he's already gone through the details of what it takes to be a player because his dad ultimately was his guide along wherever he was being coached. But you can tell he's a little bit ahead of his time versus maybe like a Membu, who, again, top tier, but he's probably a little bit raw in certain situations and has to understand how to become a pro every single day. So, again, I think, for this football team in that room, there is a lot, even like a Rucker, like it is time to see like what can he do for us. And I was telling Q outside, like sometimes you got to force feed guys opportunities, right? Just to make sure or see. And the example I told him was, Jason Witten. Jason Witten was a third-round tight end. I believe Parcells drafted him in Dallas, and I don't think anybody really had any high, lofty hopes for him. But they fed the ball, and look at him, man. The guy, all-time leader in catch, whatever he is, over 1,000 catches. He's not the fastest. He learned how to play the game. He built a rapport with his quarterback. Who are those other, like, who is the two? Like, Garrett, we know what he can do, but Garrett's only going to be as good as he can be until someone else helps out the process, right? So, again, I think that's still something we're all waiting and learning. I think we're hopeful for Josh Reynolds. I think we're hopeful for Lazard. I think we're hopeful for the tight ends. But ultimately, like, can you count on somebody like you count on Garrett to go win a route and connect? And connect consistently, or you're not sure because you're trying to get this guy. So it's an interesting dynamic. And I will, real quick, you're talking about Detroit. Everything's the same, right? Terminology, verbiage that they're using here, right? But two different quarterbacks, two different styles.
Yeah, big time.
So how does Tanner raise his ability, not only as a first-time play caller, but also understand, like, this guy doesn't do what Jared Goff does. Much different. So you got to tweak a lot of things. Now, there's some good things that come out of that, the reads and holding the edge, and the run game should improve and all that. But eventually you do have to make passes, complete passes at a high clip. I think Justin can do that. I just, he needs those options, and hopefully by scheme and confidence and someone steps up, they get what they need.
It's going to be interesting as far as the landscape here early in the season as I adjust my mic. Because you got Alan Lazard is dealing with a shoulder injury right now. So he's probably out for a couple weeks. And Tyler Johnson made a couple catches the other day. Mason Taylor battled a high ankle sprain at the beginning of training camp. Can he be the number 2 early in his career? Q?
Yes, a lot of pressure on a young tight end, right? Like, you would like to hope that he can come in and make those plays. Like, obviously, anytime you draft a guy, you want him to do the most that he can do. But I think that when you talk about offenses nowadays, a lot of times you have a 1-2 punch at receiver. You know, now you have those special cases where, like, the Kansas Cities that have a Travis Kelce out there, right? Like, he's really the 1.5, right? But a young tight end, we have to kind of see what he can kind of make up. I think what they want to do is have that 1-2 punch like they had in Detroit. I think he wants it to look as much like Detroit as possible, right? The running game, you have two good backs right there in Brees and excuse me,
Well, Brees,
Agent Zero, Braylon.
Yeah, and Isaiah.
And Isaiah obviously is back there as well. So, you know, they kind of wanted to look in that same form and fashion. But if you can have your tight end be a number 2, that's a dangerous game as well.
I'll tell you, this is what Justin Fields has to be really good at this year. And I think if he does, it'll be really beneficial for this offense. If you watch, and I'm not comparing him to Patrick Mahomes or anything like that, but the way Patrick plays and is able to get other receivers to do good things for him is not from the pocket necessarily. It's, okay, he's got to move a little bit or he's trying to buy time. And in that moment between buying time and accurately finding somebody on the move, not easy. Okay, Patrick's only a few guys can do it. But if he has the ability to be in the direction in those areas, that's where some of those guys can catch and run and get loose. You know, do you have to win from the pocket all the time? No. I mean, but it's important. In a lot of games, you're going to have to see it, hit it, and get it out. You know, like that'll be something I'll watch a little bit more this week. Like I saw the line play, like, okay, if he does play or today or whatever, it's just like when the time's there and the option's there, is he getting it out and is he trusting and is he on time with it? So, and sometimes you'll have to wait till the games actually start to get that going. So immediate success may not be in the cards. It could be, but it will take some time, man, like, you know, to get through it. And I just think you got to take the little crumbs that you get, bank them, right, and just say, okay, and make sure they're still doing those things, and get a little better on everything else you're doing. And we're just talking about offense, you know. There's other sides too, obviously, that you feel really good about too. So, but again, I just think the change and everything, it's all helpful to changing a culture. It's just, can you get success, and will guys continue to do it even in the times that are down, you know, because they will have them for everybody.
Jets game day is better together. Bring a group of 6 or more to MetLife Stadium and take advantage of preferred pricing, access to on-field experiences, and more. To book, visit nyjets.com/groups or call 973-549-4590.
All right, who do you guys watch more of today? Again, we're taping on Tuesday. This is the first of 2 joint practices, Jets-Giants. Jets going to the Giants facility tomorrow, and then Saturday night, Jets-Giants, MetLife Stadium. Which unit did you stay with more?
I was primarily with the offensive side. So I saw the 7-on period. I saw a couple of the team periods, right? So one of the big things I saw during the 7-on is that they made up for not hitting Garrett as much in the game. Like he was getting fed in that 7-on period, you know? And I think it was good for his confidence, right? Good for the team. You know, we may not see it on Saturday when the game is. So, you know, just kind of seeing that. Now, the guys behind them, right, that's where we kind of have to see guys step up, because there were some missed passes there, missed drops there. But I stayed with the offense. I want to just kind of see how it goes. I like the style of offense that they're running, so I'm always going to kind of want to just kind of watch through that.
One-on-one pass rush.
Yeah, so let's break it down.
Really talented Giant front, obviously, so you get a lot of work there.
I thought the Jets held their own quite well in the one-on-ones.
No doubt. And listen, you know, you got 2 young tackles that need as much work as possible. Obviously, you know, Olu's got a ton of work because he goes against our guys, but he also, you know, has played a lot of football last year, which was great. And, you know, playing on the right side for Membu, it's not the easy thing to do, but, you know, been there, done that. And, you know, I just think he's athletic enough where, you know, if it's not pretty, he can still make up for it, kind of like Olu in certain situations. The guys are just like really, really talented guys. So I kind of like the depth at the line, O-line position. Again, you can never have enough, but you have enough guys that can actually like go in and play and do something for you. And they've been able to kind of keep some guys around, you know, and like Max Mitchell, like, you know, at least, you know, Okorafor, like, you know, there's another guy I bring in who's got a lot of starts under his belt. He's just kind of banged up the last couple of years. And red zone, you know, just watching the red zone, everything happens a little faster in the red zone. You know, what's on time? Is there a lot of checkdowns to the back? You know, are they afraid to hit the tight windows? Is it accurate? ultimately red zone will define your season, right? Because between the 20s, you're going to have your plays. And then when you get down there, that's where it matters. Are we going to have Nick Folk lead the league in kicking, or are we going to have some guys making some noise? And you saw in the first preseason game, which is nice. If you want to play man-to-man, you do have to, account for a running quarterback. So I think I said on the air, you may see 10 touchdowns.
You said it multiple times on the air.
Well,
so fantasy alert here.
Yeah, well, it's got to. I think it has to happen.
Yeah.
I'm never going to tell them, as an example, we had a guy that was mobile and was learning our NFL system. And listen, if you see it pre-snap and you like it and you hit it. If you can't get down to your check down and it's not there, you can't find it, go.
Yeah.
Like that. And that's not bailing them out from being a quarterback. It's just like, man, like there's a talent there that can change and flip field position at any moment. Like, I mean, we can pull out the film, man. The guy is like, he is fast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Michael Vick. He's got, I don't know, man. Like he's, it's hard to not tell him to do it, but you also you want to build him as a passer because that's what he has to do. And I think he's done that, and he's only going to get better. Mm-hmm. But man, it's a nice thing to have on 3rd and 11. Like you can get the first down now, that's all. That's a big thing.
Q, it's so interesting to AB's point. We kind of throw out the numbers and you've heard it a couple times. So you're like, yeah, well, that happened. Yeah. But this guy rushed for more than 1,000 yards in the season with the Bears not too long ago.
Yeah. He's a different talent, right? He's one of a kind. Honestly, there's not too many quarterbacks that can do what he can do efficiently, right? I've played with mobile quarterbacks, but never an actual running quarterback, like a guy that can tuck it and get you 50 yards on a run, right? So that's something that I know they're going to try to incorporate into the offense. You have to. There's no reason why you don't. And as a receiver, right? Like he talked about a little bit about Patrick Mahomes, that threat, right, of getting out of the pocket, he can really bring guys up, and that gives you an opportunity to go over their head.
The other thing is, during preseason games, with you having that coaching hat, you're not going to show too much of the design run stuff, are you, with Fields?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about when we had a couple scrimmages, you want to do so much more because there's so many plays that are kind of baseline plays that kind of everybody runs, and you're like, should we do that? And you don't really end up doing it, you know? So I think, look, a lot of outside zone. Again, that was cool to see. I thought the blocking was really crisp there. Mm-hmm. I see receivers kind of digging out guys, and people know where to go in the first preseason game. That is, something that just caught my eye. I've mentioned this on multiple times, last year. I need to see getting to the second level work better. It just seemed like we were going to the wrong guy sometimes, or we weren't getting off. I think Steve Hyden again played the position I played. Worked his way through. He's a line coach. I had a great discussion with him before the game. I'm glad he's here. Played tight end, but he was a physical blocker. Yeah. So he brings and I could tell how they came off the ball in the game, right? The Packers defensive line, who's all their starters were out there, they were getting pushed back. Mm-hmm. So there's that, hey, this is important, right? Get off the football. So I think you can watch and learn about how the offense is going to go in the first 10 snaps of the game because you see how the line is. Are they getting pushed or are they getting pushed back? That will dictate kind of how it goes because whoever gets that momentum usually feeds off that, whether you're offensive or defensive lineman.
So take me inside the locker room here, Q, because one thing that struck me after practice today is that Elijah Vera Tucker was asked how it went out there. And he said, I thought we came out a little bit flat offensively because obviously the defense is taking care of business on adjacent fields. What happens following a practice against another team where your players are coming out and say, maybe the energy wasn't quite where it needed to be?
Yeah, I think you probably don't. So I've had, I think, 2 joint practices. So I would say, honestly, you look at it as any other practice, but you have an opportunity to hit somebody else. I don't think that it becomes this thing of there is a level of let's go beat them up, right? Because this is a new team. This is a new opponent, right? And so it's good that your leader is coming out into the media and saying that because he's going to the locker room and saying that as well, right? So you have that level of leadership that's coming from the top down. So, it's going to be good to see how tomorrow comes out. I think they're going to come out with a little more fire, right? And that'll be interesting because now they're in the Giants' home, right? We're moving over there now. So I think that's probably one of the bigger things that happens in that aspect.
Have you liked the way Aaron Glenn addresses the media? Because he's frank, direct, and also you get a little insight of what he's actually telling the players as well. He said after practice today, some good, some bad, but the other thing that Q and I were just talking about before we started taping was he made it a point to stay with the offense today. Now, this is the former defensive coordinator of the Lions the past 4 seasons, and he moves all across the practice field, but he stayed with that group today.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm an offensive guy. Of course, you want to get more with the offense, right? Or the defensive side for me. So I just think for him, I saw him touching a lot of stuff today. And that's what a head coach needs to do. Because if the head coach is watching the tight end drills, I sure as hell going to get my ass going, right? And make sure that I can press him, right? And he knows ball, so he knows all the positions. But I just think, man, I think that's great. I think it's important. That's one thing I learned as well. I didn't have to coach tight ends my first year, and I was able to bounce around. I hung out a lot around the D line and, the linebackers and the DB because I wanted to let them know, it mattered to me. I'm not just an offensive guy. So, and again, it's hard to, honestly, in a scrimmage and 2 fields going, you just can't, you got to pick one thing and watch that all day. And then the tape, honestly, you go back in the tape and you get everything you want. I don't know what people are looking at when they're at these things, because you can really get lost because there's just a lot of stuff going on.
There is a lot going on.
So, all right, I'm just going to watch the right tackle or the right guard. And that's just what it is. And you may miss something, but it is what it is, But I just think, you were talking about juice and all that. I just think, at the end of the day, they just want to see guys come out and execute and fight. Yeah. And the only thing where you can find that is a tape that has no sound. It's the video that you watch, right? There's no sound. Nobody knows how much you're cheering or talking crap or doing all that stuff. They can just see you coming off the ball. Are you being physical? Are you finishing? Are you doing your job the way it's supposed to be done? And then from there, you can even overcoach even more when you go against somebody else because it's a different body and you're getting some things. So I think you learn more. I think these practices are great. I hated them, but I do see why they're really good. They are helpful.
You hated them, huh?
I was, you know what? We didn't start doing a lot of joint until I got later in my career. And at that point, I was just older, dude, I don't want to do this. It just wasn't for me. Not that I wasn't, trying to, I was I knew how to practice hard against our guys. I didn't need it. Preseason games were enough. I get my snaps. I try some things out in preseason. Yeah. But again, if I was in this area, I'd have to do it. That's just what it is. There's plenty of older guys out there that have to go out there and get it done. So, but I do like them because as a coach now, you get to see where you're at, and guys are hungry, and it's kind of a younger league, so there's a little more juice across the board. So, tomorrow's practice will be another, like you said, you're going to somebody else's place. You don't know the environment really well. Can you come out with a little more enthusiasm and set the tone, rather than trying to catch up to the tone that's been set by the other team?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think now without that 4th preseason game, it's almost a necessity, right? So you have to look at it as though this is something that we need to get out of because we don't have that extra game. We don't have that extra competition period, right? So that's why they do so much of the joint practices. But then the other point that you made about the coaches coming around to the different periods. Oh, I remember Coach Bowles, every time he would come to receivers, it would always make me want to go a little harder, right? Because you're like, oh, no, he's going to watch this. And you know what I mean? You might go ahead for one hand just so he can see it. Just you almost want to impress, do a little more because you get into the monotony of practice at times, right? So when the coach comes, now that's a little bit more juice. When the fans are here, it's a little bit more juice, right? You have a new team you're playing, it's a little bit more juice. So all those things kind of play into it because I think at times you can kind of fall into the routine.
A lot of very good individual matchups out here, and specifically, I think most people from a media perspective, and even from the fans, are probably looking at the line of scrimmage when you talk about this offensive line with the Jets, young and talented, off to a decent start in Green Bay. We saw the operation against the Giants. Listen, they're in a different phase right now themselves, but they do have a defensive line that on paper could be one of the better groups in the National Football League.
Yeah. No, yeah. Abdul Carter looks really talented. He's got power and speed. And
I will say Olu did pretty good against him in the one-on-ones.
No doubt. Yeah. And he probably knows a little bit of what he does anyway, right? Because they did go against each other in college. But I mean, yeah, look, I mean, it's great. I think I heard AG, I feel like yesterday, like, hey, this is a litmus test for our trenches. We got a really good defensive line. Or maybe after the game, Green Bay, that's the first thing he said. Like, yeah, we're looking forward. These are vital practices this week, especially for our guys up front. And, look, you get it from Will McDonald, right? I mean, he's going to give you what you want, and that's great. But, now you got a variety of different guys that can do some certain things. Inside, you got bigger, stronger, heavier guys. You get to go against different body types. So, look, I mean, competition, that's all you want. You just want guys to compete, go out there and get better. And even on the loss, when you lose, I mean, somebody's got to win, right? That's the thing. Like, even on the losses, you learn so much. It's just how do you react to those things? Guys get so beat up. I was like that for a while. You just beat yourself up when you don't, and you worry about it, but it's like, man, like, this is a time to grow, and yeah, you're being evaluated. There's no question. But I mean, if you're in a place where, hey, I know I'm going to be a guy, I'm here, whatever, like, you got to find ways to get better from those moments. And that's what these practices are for. How
disappointed were you both? Let's start with you, Q, when you heard that no neighbors. So we were stolen from a matchup that we wanted to see. We want to see a little Malik Neighbors versus Sauce Gardner today.
Yeah, no. I mean, obviously it's a disappointment because that guy, he actually came on the scene and did really well last year, honestly. As I was watching, I watched the tape of, the 3-4 guys that were the top, and, he definitely stood out. So it was cool to see him kind of produce for the Giants. I think Sauce, we know what Sauce can do, right? So ultimately I knew that it was going to be a good battle, but he doesn't need that battle, right? That would have just been for our entertainment, So it was still cool to see the opposite side, watching Garrett, go against those guys. There may not have been any big names over there, but just watching him perform is always fun.
I thought it was cool the way the game opened the other night. Sauce was involved in three consecutive plays.
And all that stuff. I was like, oh, hey, he got his fill.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
He's good. You saw it more aggressive. I mean, you're going to get a lot of man this year.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a lot of 2 safety looks, pressure.
How much heat are we going to see from the Jets?
I don't know. I think it's all predicated, but I mean, we just have the dudes that can do it. I mean, when you got linebackers that can fly around and get their places quick, it's just a matter of, hey, if someone's dropping and filling voids, making sure they're in the right spot, or if a safety has to fill in a spot, and can a safety cover? Malachi Corley is a guy that I think I hear AG. I don't want to say he compared him to somebody yet.
Malachi Moore, yeah.
He says he says he sees a lot of somebody in him, but he doesn't tell anybody who it is. So I'm like, all right, I'm trying to go through the list of people he coached. Like in New Orleans, maybe. Good safeties, like whoever, but. Clearly, he stood out, and listen, he's a 2-time captain at Alabama. I think there's only been 15 players in the history of that school that have ever been a 2-time captain. I read the notes that I got sent, so I thought that was pretty impressive when I was reading up on him. But he's really productive, smart. Just want a lot of smart players that know how to play defense, and places like Alabama, Georgia, you get those kind of guys. So he's a guy that hopefully plug and play dude that understands. And you were talking about can Mason Taylor, Mason Taylor's played in front of 100,000+ fans, and in the biggest games, they're always on TV. Honestly, this should be okay, let's go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't think it'll be too big for a guy like him. I really do believe he can be very productive this year if he's allowed to, and
they feed him
and they find ways. And I think I think they will.
You liked that tight end screen the other night in the second half, didn't you?
Yeah, it was good. No, I'm trying to figure out how you utilize he's small, right? Smart's not the biggest guy.
Yeah.
He's a hybrid guy, but he can't really get in the backfield and do a lot of stuff. So it's what's the value there? That was a really cool play, but in the landscape of the room, can he help you win, right? So those are the, running back, very deep, right? I mean, hell, there's 2 guys that I'm going to draft maybe that I don't know about, and maybe they get here and they keep one and the other one gets signed. It's just how does that all work? It stinks when you have some talented guys just the running back room is such a hefty room. Yeah. And it just seems like they keep catching good players, and that's a good thing. Trust me, you want those decisions, but you also could be handing somebody off that's a pretty good player, as well. Yeah.
I think this Jets defense got a chance to be really good. Quinton Williamson suited up the other night. You got Jermaine Johnson's coming off PUP. You got Will McDonald, who's got freakish ability. So I was watching the defense, that first team defense in the first period against the Giants. They were all over them, and those two were not on the field. When you're talking about Quinn and Jermaine, Jay Tefeli the other night. Incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, some guys won't play a career and get those kind of stats.
Is it Tefele or Tefele? Because I see different. I meant to ask him today, but did we? Is it? I was told in the pronunciation it says Tufele, but
Tufele.
But I was told it was Tufele. Fell like F-E-L-L-A. That's how.
Yeah, right. That's how you and
that's how we were saying
Yeah,
it.
right.
No, I went with Iron Eagle's a legend, right? I just trusted him, and I said,
I went with
I'm not
Fell
going
as
to
well.
argue.
I went with Fell as
But
well.
I don't want to like piss off his family or anything. And I tried to watch like videos of him, but like when he speaks, he's got a little bit of that Samoan quick. You
yeah.
can't really hear,
Right.
you know. So I just, but I just heard you say Fele, so I said it right then, I guess.
Yeah, I think it. But again,
gotta
But
give him
again,
the
that
props.
position though, again, the complementary pieces for Quinnen
Yeah.
and Will McDonald are obviously the utmost importance for me. Everything else, I feel like you're covered. I really do. Like,
Yeah.
you got dudes. Like, I just think like, Jermaine Johnson, is he's going to be the same dude?
Yep.
Michael Clemens, I think, he's not those guys, but he's an effective high motor guy. Like, how does that work?
Yeah.
And then there's like 5 guys right now in the D tackle room that like, Jay had his moment. Like, that looked really good. Like what's Byron Coward or, Noddy? Like, is it just going to have to just keep an extra one of those guys and they're just going to try to just continue to find the right sauce there? But I do think it's vital that'll be key because, it's been different since, it hasn't been as stable as it was maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah,
but you
2-3 years ago,
got
yep.
blue chippers all over the place on defense, like
Yeah.
we're talking about it. If you got Will, you got Quinnen.
Yeah, corners.
Yeah, I mean,
Brandon Stevens, all the
the linebacker
linebackers,
tandem. I
yeah.
asked Quincy about it. The other Quincy,
Yeah.
Quincy Williams, and he said that
exciting.
we're the best tandem in the National
Yeah,
Football
I
League.
wouldn't
I'm not going to
argue
argue
that. No, I
that,
wouldn't.
right?
Yeah.
And the other thing, but this defense, we talk about all the movement on offense. I think we're going to see more movement from the defense. Don't
Yeah,
we?
I mean, for the majority of the game, Malachi Moore was on the line of scrimmage, right? So that shows you a lot, right? That guy, they want him in the backfield. They want him blitzing. They want him creating pressure, but then he can also dive out, get into the flat, right? So it's cool to kind of watch what they do. Obviously, he wasn't the starter, right? So that was more of a Cisco thing, and I saw him doing that as well. But yeah, it's cool to kind of see what they're doing. It's going to be some pressure, right? But then the biggest thing is they were able to create that pressure with the interior. Now imagine when they get Jermaine and Will on the outside, right? Like it's going to be a dangerous defense if they can stay healthy and really lock in.
Jets game day is better together. Bring a group of 6 or more to MetLife Stadium and take advantage of preferred pricing, access to on-field experiences, and more. To book, visit nyjets.com/groups or call 973-549-4590.
Let's end here. How quickly is this going to go now? If you are a player, you got a joint practice with the Giants tomorrow.
Yeah.
You play Saturday night. You get an off day. You come back to practice. You got a couple practices. Play Philly. Preseason's over. Regular season September 7th, Pittsburgh.
Listen, I'm sure as a staff and AG, they like where they're at, but man, they almost feel like we got a long way to go. That's just how you feel, because you don't really know till you get out there. I was kind of watching AG from up top. It was funny because, he's been a defensive coordinator, and you kind of know where to stand and who to hang out with in your guys. But when you're a head coach, you're kind of like in like anywhere. Sometimes I'm like in the middle of the field. I'm like, where do I go here? Like until you find out your routine. But it's just like, again, it's like everybody's finding their bearings. So I just felt like, look, can AG be a great head coach? Yes, I think that how AG will be graded is how good his staff is, okay, and obviously the players, and obviously good head coaches put players first. Good assistant coaches understand the message and trickle it down properly. It's hard to do. It is something that it's a skill set, and sometimes you don't hire everybody that like you got a relationship with. So it's like there's a lot of people in the room, and he's just a guy that sets the tone to me, and the message is clear. And Coach Wilkes said that the message is clear. So all that's great, and now it's like it's up to those guys to really like, hey, we got a coach that's letting our do our thing, okay. Now we got to go out there and we got to win. Steve has got to win in his space, and Tanner's got to win in his space, and then the coach has got to do their things with their individual guys. So, but ultimately, the quarterback is going to be the key to this thing. And I said it after the season last year. He was the best available guy to get. They got him. I'm glad they did. I'm happy about that. Is he the guy that can take him to the Super Bowl? I don't know. But I just think functionally and what Tanner can provide for him in his kind of background and his system, he's going to want to grow. And you said it earlier in the podcast, is embracing him and letting him feel like he is the guy, all right? That's the confidence that quarterbacks need to feel that way so they can go out there and you're still competing, right? Because Tyrod, but you also understand, like, hey, and he's a good worker, right? So we know you don't have to worry about that. So now he gets all in with this thing, and it's really up to him to get better every single day and build a rapport and get that other receiver ready or receivers ready. Like, it's on him. Yeah, I have a quarterback in my family. I'm telling you, I got 2 new receivers. It's your responsibility in the offseason to get those guys ready. Yeah. Now, you can't do the work for them, but when you're out there and you have to work, they're going to be with you, and you're going to get it done the way you want. It's only going to turn out the way you want it on the amount of work that you put in because you're the quarterback. That's your job. Yeah. And that's Justin Fields. So whatever he's doing with them together, all that stuff, that will ultimately dictate his success because he can't just come in, go through the motions and go home. That's not how it's going to work for Justin because this is this is Justin's opportunity. Yeah. After this one, I don't know if anybody's going to lean on that. So he gets to go out there and prove himself. I hope he does. It's a great opportunity for him. He's got some pieces around him, and I think if they're smart, they can come out of this thing looking really good, and that's what Justin wants. And if he does, he'll be here for a long time.
Yeah.
Great job, fellas.
We want to thank everybody again for listening and watching to the Official Jets podcast. Please remember, subscribe, rate, and review. Leave us a comment. Really good analysis and insight today from Anthony Becht and Quincy Enunwa. The Jets preseason, it's almost over. Next week, a date with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then the Jets will be preparing for the Pittsburgh Steelers September 7th at MetLife Stadium. We're almost there.